Mr. Popo was only blue in the Toonzai version. This video sucks. You don't know anything about Dragon Ball, even though you've been making videos about it for over a decade and have been watching this franchise since many of us were in diapers, because I wasn't even that much older than myself being in diapers when I started watching it. This guy sucks. Did you get it out of your system yet? Alright, well that's good to hear, because as I've told you before, if you've done YouTube as long as I have, you gain a secret ability to read idiots in the comment section before you even post. Every YouTuber has this secret power, and it's awesome. Alright, I'm just kidding. But the point that I'm trying to get at today is, today I want to discuss one thing with you guys, as you can tell by the title, and it's actually dealing with Dragon Ball Z Kai. Now, if you guys were a part of a recent late night stream, you would know that this is something that I talked about on there, and I decided to turn this into a video. I'm not going to do any editing with all the fancy stuff. I'm just going to speak from the heart, you know, because I think sometimes just an honest conversation with no major editing is the best way to go. So where am I going to go with this conversation? Well, the thing about Kai, and I got to make this very careful when I say this, is that Dragon Ball Z Kai doesn't suck within itself. As a series within itself, basically being a composite of Dragon Ball, it's not bad inherently, okay? But what sucks about it is that it is completely useless, and it gives absolutely no value to OG fans of Dragon Ball, and that's what I want to talk about today. I want to talk to you about the OG fans of Dragon Ball, because we do have a voice, and most of you who are OG fans, you're going to nod your head a lot in agreement to this. So don't worry, relax, wherever you are, just put the video down and listen to what I have to say. So, where do we begin with this? Well, the thing that you have to understand about OG Dragon Ball fans is that the majority of us are motivated by two things. Now, granted, I'm a YouTuber that talks about Dragon Ball, so inherently my interest in the franchise is significantly greater than the average person. But generally speaking, OG fans have a nostalgic drive towards watching Dragon Ball, and then they also have an authentic drive towards watching Dragon Ball. Now, when we separate these two areas of interest when we come to discussing Dragon Ball, this basically gives us two answers. If you were an OG Dragon Ball fan during the whole Funimation era, the whole Toonami boom around that time, you became accustomed to those original voice actors. Now, objectively speaking, the original English dub of Dragon Ball is bad. Like, it's not accurate to the manga, there's a lot of gestures, there's a lot of, you know, free-willing everywhere. There's just so many changes that took place that was very corny and cheesy at times, and I would actually say it got better. Like, if you look at the Android arc and then eventually, like, the Buu arc, like, I would say it was at its absolute worst around the time of the Namek arc, if I'm speaking about it completely objectively. So, if we're thinking about a voice dub series, if we're thinking about it from the perspective of the voice dub itself, Kai beats the original Dragon Ball Z Funimation dub. But what did I say? This is featured around nostalgia. If you have nostalgia for those original voice actors, it doesn't matter. Nostalgia is a powerful thing that I'm sure everybody has faced in their life. And when it comes to dealing with nostalgia, you don't care. So, for those reasons, OG Dragon Ball fans are still going to want to watch the original dub for the nostalgia of having Stephanie Nadolny as their Gohan. And I'll be honest with you, there is just a natural feeling in hearing Nadolny voice Gohan as opposed to Colleen. And there's nothing wrong with Colleen at all. Objectively, you could say she's better in a lot of points. But that nostalgic vibe is going to keep OG Dragon Ball fans. Now, we also have to talk about a more rare type of OG Dragon Ball fan, and this is what I call the authentic OG Dragon Ball fan. So, these are the Dragon Ball fans that just weren't the casuals, oh, I just watched the English dub. No. Like, these are the Dragon Ball fans that have a little bit more of an education on the series. The fans that went a step further beyond, you could say. And these are the fans that want a completely authentic experience of Dragon Ball, and this would include, obviously, the OG Japanese Dragon Ball fans, and the English, well, shall I say, because, English can be learned by other people, but the point I'm trying to say is people who listen to the English but want to hear the authentic version of it to get what it was like watching the original Japanese dub with the original Japanese music, and so on and so forth. And because of that, we have a separate category of a fan. Now, how does all of this relate to Dragon Ball Kai? Or Dragon Ball Z Kai, whatever you want to call it. I'm just going to say Kai if it's easier. How does this relate to Kai? This relates to Kai because of the fact that Kai falls in the middle of nowhere where it comes to satisfying either aspect of an OG fan. That's the problem with Kai, and that's why it sucks for OG fans. Because there's no point in watching it. It doesn't give you what you want. Now, we can talk about censorship, and we're going to talk about that as our last segment on this video. But if you want nostalgia, go watch the original English dub. If you want an authentic experience, just watch it in Japanese. Kai kind of like meets you in the middle, but doesn't give you what you want. Because it's like, well, I don't care about an English dub being similar to the Japanese, because if I just want the authentic experience, I could just watch the Japanese dub. And if I feel like just being nostalgic, I'll just watch it in English. To hear those OG actors and to relive, your experiences watching Dragon Ball. And for those reasons, Kai fails to satisfy basically any group of OG fans, unless you were an OG fan that really, really loved Kai because you really hated the English dub, and you're one of those rare fans that just collects everything that's Dragon Ball related, and as long as Dragon Ball is in the title, it's great because Dragon Ball is life. If you're one of those fans, then fine. But I'm giving you a different perspective, as I've talked to a multitude of Dragon Ball fans. I've talked to most Listen, compared to most people on Earth, I've interacted with more Dragon Ball fans than most humans who have ever lived. So trust me when I say this. I've talked to a lot of the community. I've talked to the people that are, if it's dub, it sucks. You talk to those fans that, they walk with their chest puffed out. If it ain't in Japanese, you suck, bro. Like you have those fans that just look down on the people who are called dubbies and all that. You have both sides. Like, Dragon Ball fans come in different shapes and forms, and I've interacted with all types of them. So I can tell you this with absolute experience. But I wanted to end this video by discussing the censorship. Now, I do understand the whole Nicktoons thing and all of that, and yes, Kai isn't fully censored. There are definitely aspects of it that are censored when you compare it to the original anime, and the most clear-cut go-to example I could think of off the top of my head would be the Raditz special beam cannon with the amount of blood. Even if you look at the Kai version, not the Nicktoons version, it's still censored compared to what it originally was. And this goes into a deeper conversation that's going to create an entire rabbit hole. But my point in all of this is to say this, guys. We live in a world of censorship. In fact, I mean, if you know anything about my live streams, or if you know who I am in person, I use quite a bit of profanity, but the fact that I haven't used profanity in this video in itself is me basically saying I, to some degree, have to conform to censorship, because we're living in a society where, for whatever reason, everything you say is so offensive to everybody and it hurts everybody's feelings. And I'm saying all of that to say that when you look at the censorship, it's still relatively censored in certain areas compared to the original anime, and last but not least, it's edited. And what I mean by it's edited is it takes out filler. Now, here's the thing. I get why, and I understand the intent to make it more like the manga. I get it. But then it's one of those things where I said, well, if I want a manga experience, then I'll just go watch the manga. Or shall I say, that sounds stupid. I'm stupid. I said watch the manga. I know, because I'm doing this video off the cuff. You can tell I'm not editing the audio, because if I did, this would have been cut out, and I would have re-recorded myself saying it, but I'm just going to talk. The point I'm trying to say is this. If I want the manga, I'll just go read the manga. I have all 26 volumes combined with the original, well, 26, because you remember Shonen Jump like split between Z and Dragon Ball. But I have all 42 volumes, so if I want the manga, I'll just go read it. And even though, Viz changed everything with the whole Dragon Ball versus Z, and, Viz changed everything, and there's some things that are translated that aren't fully accurate. I mean, unless you can read Japanese, you'll never be able to get a fully authentic translation of the manga. That's just the way it is, because you're basically at the mercy of whoever translates it. That's one of the things about translations. It's always hard to be fully accurate, you know, but my overall point is that if I want the manga, I'll just go read the manga, you know. And, I mean in saying this even sucks too, because even Viz started censoring the manga too, where, you know, Topless Bulma became censored. Like, even Viz censored everything. So it's like, to get a full, authentic manga experience, you're gonna have to, you know, find an alternative way of reading it and then hope that the fan translation was good. But I'm not gonna get myself in trouble. The point I'm trying to say is, if I want the anime, I want the entirety of the anime. I want all of the filler too. Even if it wasn't good filler, I want all the filler, because the filler is what made the anime an authentic experience that was different from the manga. So I look at it as two separate worlds, anime and manga, and even though the filler, it was corny and definitely cheesy at some moments and didn't make sense in some, like, you know, the Ginyu Force going over to King Kai's planet. Okay, yeah, I'll be honest. Sometimes the filler was a bit silly. Like, the Ginyu Force being on King Kai's planet, you know, that's a stretch. But there's also other cool things, too, like Goku and Piccolo going to get their driver's license. That was fun. I mean, you know, certain things like that, you know, those are filler moments that I always enjoy. But overall, guys, this is just an OG fan sharing his business in a completely 100% unedited audio segment where you can just listen to and enjoy. I didn't change anything I'm saying in this video. I stand by everything I say in saying that Dragon Ball Kai, Dragon Ball Z Kai, however you want to say it, Kai is okay for people who are getting a new experience of Dragon Ball, and that was the original intent of Kai. And for that reason, it served its purpose. It got a newer generation to enjoy it, and that's perfectly fine. Dragon Ball always has to remarket itself to get new people watching. That's how life works. I get it. That's fine, and I have no problem with that. I'm just letting you guys know why us OG fans think it sucks and it's completely useless, because it doesn't give us what we want in Dragon Ball. And what we want is an unedited, a nostalgic / authentic version of Dragon Ball, which we can get from the Japanese dub and the original English dub, or by just reading the manga. And for all of those reasons, that is why Kai sucks to specifically OG Dragon Ball fans. I'm going to make this clear. It's okay within itself. But for OG Dragon Ball fans, and you know you're an OG if you're listening to this, because OGs, we walk a certain path, and I'm not trying to sound like I'm looking down on other people. It's fine. One day you're going to be an OG too. And one day Kai fans are going to be OGs, and then there's going to be some newer version of Dragon Ball that's going to be like, wait, what in the hell is this? You get where I'm coming from, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day or night, wherever the hell you are in the world. Oh, I said hell. I probably shouldn't have said that. Maybe that's just another part of censorship.